Do you have a specific framework or approach, like when you're going into radio and you're considering, what do I want to share with the team here? What does that like beginning like formulation process look like?
It's a good question. So I would love to say it's, all prim and proper and, properly done, but it's always like, God, such a stressful thing that goes down to the wire and you never know how it's going to go until like the very last minute. Um, so we typically start about a month out and I'll usually have some broad themes in my head.
Hmm.
And I have a team because I do so much, speaking internally, externally. I've got a team that helps me with slide content and all the development, all this sort of stuff. So we bounce around some ideas and start creating an outline and so forth. But I would say probably the secret sauce to why that keynote in particular, let's say, well, I think was so good, is because I've got these kind of 20 or 30 odd folks across the company, senior technologists, people who I admire deeply for their technical acumen and just their ability to hear something, see something, and give really insightful feedback on it. So we got this group together, and this is a pretty compressed timeline. I remember, so it was like the keynote was on Tuesday of the week of radio, like the first day, and so this is the week before. And it's like Tuesday. So we're like a week out. And so we do the first dry run with them where I kind of walk through the slides and kind of tell them, not like speaking it as if I was actually doing it, but kind of walking them through it. And, these folks are just awesome. And they eviscerated it. It was a bloodbath. Oh God, I got off that call and I was like, oh, I'm so screwed. This is going to be a total failure. But they were constructive. I mean, yeah, they eviscerated it, telling me how it was wrong, but they were saying, hey, here's what you need to do this. There's very constructive commentary coming in. And so then, I was like, okay, screw this. So I cleared the calendar and just like sat there, redid it all, got a new flow. And then we had another session on Friday that week. And that one went so much better with that same group of people. They still had a bunch of like, much more nuanced and specific tweaks and suggestions. But I think when I look back at that, and that I've leveraged this group of folks numerous times. Like first of all, we've developed a good rapport. They know they can say anything. Like they're not going to attack me personally, obviously, but they can say anything about the presentation, the content, whatever it is. They can be very blunt about it because we're all on the same page. We all know this is all in service of making this thing better. So all feedback is welcome, right? Even if it's harsh. And so, they don't hold back. But what that does is it makes this thing so much better. And so I do think like this model of getting feedback, it's really, really helpful. And I think when I look back at it, the success of that keynote is because of those folks and the relationship that we have where they feel comfortable giving that feedback.
It's so cool, like having the sounding board to give that open and honest feedback, and for you to be able to receive it, even though maybe like it sounds like, oh yeah, this is really tough, but like to just be able to work through that in a productive way. For me, I have a hard time with feedback, so I'm like, oh, I can
No,
feel a moment.
dude, it's tough. I got this inner voice that's like, getting angry and all these other things and like not happy about it. Because it's easy to kind of personalize it too much and say, oh, this is about you, but obviously it's not. That's not how it's meant. And so I got to do some self-soothing usually in the moment. But I do think, if I look at some of my superpowers, right, or what makes me great or whatever, is that ability to take feedback. I think that's pretty well known. Like, it's not just in this specific setting about a PowerPoint or whatever. Like I have it in my signature. So like, in fact, I wrote a blog article about this, like what's in my signature. And one of the lines in there is, if you got a feedback for me, here's a form, go give it to me. You can give it to me with your name, or you can keep it anonymous. We don't collect any info. And so, we do that, and it's been great in terms of, it's not too much feedback from me generally. It's usually about the team or about the company, something like that. But I think you kind of develop that reputation where people know that if they come to you with something, that you're going to just take it at face value, that you're not going to look at it as a personal attack. And for me, that's like the most important thing as a leader. It's like if people can't give you feedback or they feel afraid to do that, you're not going to know what's going on, and you're not going to know how to get better either. So I do think that's so important. And, this worked well for me because I can apply it in these like very specific situations, like with the radio keynote.